Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the NBA Finals Showdown slate on Draftkings. I haven't made an NBA video in quite some time, pretty much like over the last 2 or 3 weeks I haven't made an NBA video, but I did want to get some videos out for the Finals, for the Showdown slates, because both sites, I don't play FanDuel, but I know they're running huge tournaments. Draftkings is running a Millionaire Maker for Game 1 of the Finals. The finals do start Wednesday night. I want to get this video up a little bit beforehand. Probably going to upload it on Tuesday night, probably sometime Tuesday. But yeah, we'll break down this Showdown slate just like we do for my NFL Showdown videos. If you do watch those, we'll kind of start off at the top of the player pool. We'll work our way down. I'll really just try and hit on all the playable options, all the guys that are going to get enough minutes to where they should be, in consideration. I'm not going to talk about the guys down here at 1K that aren't going to play. I'm just going to talk about the guys that are actually going to see time on the court and, actually viable. So we'll do that. We'll go through the player pool, and then towards the end of the video, we will look at roster construction, talk about how I want to build out my lineups, if I want to pay up at captain, if I want to go to the mid-range, if I think there are any cheap captains that we could play. I'll be sure to hit on that as well. Maybe, we'll even build out a few lineups too. So before we do get started with the breakdown, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below, and be sure to subscribe to the channel as well if you are new here. Right now, I've just been grinding NFL, but I will have videos up for the Showdown, for the Finals, pretty much until it's over, whether it goes 4 games, 5 games, whether it goes 7 games, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to have videos up for every Finals Showdown slate. Still be making NFL videos, every week as well, probably 4 to 5 NFL videos a week. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. We're getting close to 20,000 subscribers. Would appreciate it if you would help us get there. And if you want to, you can check out all the content that I do have available on Patreon. That is linked down below in the description. If you do really enjoy these YouTube videos and if they help you, I do have more content available that you can check out on Patreon, linked down below. But yeah, guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the slate. We'll kind of start off with our stud guys at the top. LeBron, AD, Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. These top 4 guys, I think, not above 9K, we'll hit on first. So at the top, we got LeBron at 13.2. If you want to play him in the flex, that's what he's cost. If you want to play him at captain, he is 19,800. That is a very hefty price tag, I will admit, but we've got some value on this Showdown slate. It's not value that you're gonna feel great about, but we have guys like Alex Caruso for 3K, who's probably gonna play anywhere from 24 to 26 minutes. You have Andre Iguodala, who's coming off a big game, last game in the Eastern Conference Finals against Boston, where I think he had like 25 or 30 DraftKings points. He had 26 DK points in 28 minutes. So, this is a game and a matchup where I think Iggy probably gets more minutes than he normally would. They can use him defensively against LeBron. So we do have some value. It is definitely viable to pay up for LeBron at captain. If we do that, we're going to need like 65 to 70 from LeBron. But he can obviously get there. Showed big time upside in the Western Conference Finals against Denver. Had a 69-point game, 79-point game. I think LeBron's ceiling, in my opinion, is the highest on the slate. It's close between him and AD. I think LeBron just gives us more upside, though. We can get a massive triple-double from LeBron, whereas we're unlikely to get that from AD. Bam Adebayo does have triple-double upside, but if anybody on this slate can drop 80 DraftKings points, I think it is LeBron. In the finals here, you expect him to play massive minutes. He's probably going to play close to 40 minutes, if not more. Just contributes in so many categories, gives you points, gives you rebounds, gives you assists. Lately, during the 2-game slates, I was playing AD a lot over LeBron, but I think this is a spot where I want to get LeBron over AD. AD I have no problems with either. It's just that he doesn't give you that massive, 70, 80-point upside. Well, he does have that upside, but I just think it's unlikely. I think LeBron is more likely to hit 70, to hit 75 than AD is. And I know LeBron's more expensive, but we do have enough value to where we can pay up for him. So I really like LeBron at the top. He is definitely my favorite pay-up option. Between him and AD, I think I would rather, pay up for LeBron. And then we have Bam for 10.6. I think Bam is for sure in play here. Did have a big game. Last game against Boston, played 39 minutes, 32 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists. Bam has massive upside as well. He is pretty expensive, though, at 10,600. He's kind of close to AD, or he's not that close, but I think at Bam's price, he's just kind of in no man's land for me. I think if I'm going to pay that much, I would just rather get up to Anthony Davis or drop down to Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler wasn't great in the Boston series, at least for DFS wise. Like, he didn't give you really any big games. Had a 41-point game, a 43-point game, but that's still like not great for his salary. I still like Jimmy, though, a lot at 9,200. At the end of the day, he's still the highest usage player on this team. Most games, he's giving you 40 to 45 DK points. He still has that 50-point upside. Jimmy's one of those guys that can contribute in all categories, can give you points, rebounds, and assists. We haven't seen a triple-double from him, but he was close to doing so in Game 5 with 17, 8, and 8. Like, he does have triple-double upside. He's coming in much cheaper than Bam, so honestly, in terms of pay-up options, I think factoring in price, if I'm going to the top, I like LeBron the most over AD. And then if I'm not going to LeBron, I like Jimmy a lot at 9,200. I just think he's a little bit too cheap. The fact that he's $1,400 less than Bam, I think that's definitely, a mistake. I think Jimmy and Bam should be very closely priced because I think they project, very closely. The discount does make me prefer Jimmy, over Bam. Really like him at his price. I think he's definitely captain worthy. Although we haven't seen massive games from Jimmy, I think that upside is still there, and the price tag is starting to come down, because he's been so disappointing in terms of DFS wise. So really like Jimmy, really like LeBron. Then you have Dragic and Hero. So between these two guys, I always think that Dragic is a bit of the safer, he's the safer option just because he's a starter. He's locked into, probably anywhere from 34 to 36 minutes. He's a slightly more productive player than Tyler Hero just on the season. I think Hero averages right over 1 fantasy point per minute, and Dragic is at like 1.10. Both guys are very productive, though, when they're on the court. Dragic is probably going to play, anywhere from 34 to 36 minutes. Hero, although he does come off the bench, is still going to get big minutes off the bench, 35 minutes, 36 minutes. Like, he was still playing massive minutes even coming off the bench. I just think I still slightly prefer Dragic over Hero. I really have no problems with either one, though. I do like Hero a lot at his price at 8K. I think his floor is definitely a lot lower than like a guy like Dragic. Like, Dragic, even if he has a bad game, is still going to give you like 30 DraftKings points, whereas Hero, we've seen him kind of bottom out with 19 DK points, 30, 22. Like, I guess he still has that massive upside, but his floor, I think, is a little bit lower than Dragic is. So, in terms of like optimal play, like a cash play, I think Dragic is probably the safer option. For tournaments, I think both guys give you upside. I really have interest in both. It just comes down to your roster build. If you had the salary for Dragic, I probably would rather play him. If you can't get to Dragic, if you build out your lineup and you have like 8,500 left, I wouldn't try and, reconstruct my lineup to try and get Dragic in. I would be fine plugging in Hero. I do like both guys quite a bit. I do have interest in both. Duncan Robinson, I think, is probably a little bit too expensive for me at 6,800. Just don't see myself getting to him much at that price tag. He's very up and down, a very scoring dependent player. If he's not knocking down 5, 6, 7 threes a game, most times he's going to disappoint at his salary. He doesn't really contribute much with peripherals, not really going to give you many rebounds, not going to give you many assists. What are his minutes going to look like? I really have no idea. He could play anywhere from 35 to 36 minutes, or he could play, 26 to 28 minutes. He's much more of a riskier option. I just don't think I'm going to play him much at that price tag. I just think he's so closely priced to Dragic and Hero that I would just rather play those two guys. Also, you have like Rondo for cheaper. You have Dwight Howard for cheaper. You even have Jay Crowder for less. So I think these are all guys, I would rather play over Duncan Robinson. Robinson, honestly, probably going to be a fade for me. I don't see myself getting much exposure to him, even if I am playing multiple lineups. I just think his price is a little bit too high for me. But Jay Crowder, 6,200. I think we are going to see Jay Crowder get pretty solid minutes in this series. Even during the Boston series, he was playing about 32 to 34 minutes a night, sometimes more, sometimes less. This is a spot, though, against the Lakers. Like, Jay Crowder matches up pretty well with LeBron. Like, he can definitely defend LeBron one-on-one. I'm not saying he's going to slow him down by any means, but Crowder is a very good defender. He can match up with LeBron. Crowder is one of those guys that does give you a little bit of everything. He's kind of scoring dependent as well. If he's not knocking down a couple threes, most times he's going to disappoint, but I think he does give you more peripherals than, Duncan Robinson will. Crowder can go out there and give you 7, 8 rebounds, can get defensive stats as well. He is a pesky defender, can block shots, can pick up steals. At 6,200, I do have some interest in Crowder. He's never someone I feel like I have to play just because his upside is not that high. But when you factor in him versus Robinson, I think Crowder gives you a little bit of a higher ceiling, gives you a little bit of a higher floor as well, and he's also coming in cheaper. So Between those two guys, I'd rather go with Crowder. But then you have like Rondo and Howard, and I think, these are two guys that I do have a good amount of interest in that I would definitely play over those two Heat guys. I think both Rondo and Howard are just a little bit too cheap. Rondo, even though he comes off the bench, it's going to be hard to tell what his minutes are going to look like. In the Denver series, he was playing anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes a night, 21, then 30 minutes, then 22. Then he only got 13 in game 5, I believe that was, or game 6, I can't remember honestly. Game 6, he played 13 minutes. So, you just never know. Or game 5, that was game 5, excuse me. But, in game 5, he played 13 minutes. So, we don't really know what kind of minutes we're going to expect from Rondo. He could play 20, he could play 22, he could play 25, he could play 28, he could play 17. It's a little bit of a riskier play, but Rondo is just such a productive player when he gets minutes that I don't mind at all, taking the risk on him. Even though the minutes are very, up and down, we don't know what his minutes are going to look like. He's just so productive when he's on the floor. He gives you, a little bit of everything. He can score, he can rebound, he can get assists. Rondo has 35, 40-point upside. We've seen when he gets, upwards of 25, 30 minutes, he can go out there and drop 35, 40 DK points. He did it twice in the Houston series, 38, 39 DK points, 37 against them. Rondo has upside, and for 5,400, he can easily outscore Crowder. He can easily outscore Duncan Robinson, and he's coming in at a much cheaper price than those guys. So I do have a lot of interest in Rajon Rondo. He's not the safest play just because the minutes are so up in the air, but I think the ceiling is still there for him, especially when he does get the minutes. And if he's playing well, if he comes off the bench and he's playing really well, Frank Vogel will give him, close to 30 minutes. They'll play Rondo 26, 28 minutes if he's playing really well. So I like him a lot at 5,400. And then assuming Dwight Howard still starts, which I assume he will, I have a good amount of interest in him as well at 5K. He replaced JaVale McGee in the starting lineup in Game 4 of the Denver series. And in that game, he played 23 minutes, had 30 DK points. Started again in Game 5 and played 35 minutes and had 23 DK points. Obviously, this is a different matchup against Miami. Against Denver, a team that plays pretty big with Jokic or Plumlee, one of those two guys on the floor at all times. It kind of made sense that they needed Howard out there for big minutes. Against Miami, could we see Howard maybe not play as many minutes as he did against Denver? It's possible, but assuming he still starts, I have to assume he plays at least mid-20s in minutes, at least low 20s, I would say. And Howard's just such a productive player, very similar to Rajon Rondo. He's not a guy that needs 35 minutes to pay off his price tag. He can get there in 24, 25 minutes. He's a great guy around the rim, can score and rebound, can easily give you a double-double even in, 23 minutes. We saw him do it against Denver, putting up 12 and 11, 30 DraftKings points in only 23 minutes. So assuming Dwight Howard still starts, I do like him quite a bit at 5K. Him and Rondo, I think, are both, good viable options in that 5K range. KCP and Danny Green, probably two guys I'm not going to be too heavy on. I just think they're so closely priced to Howard and Rondo that I would just rather play Howard and Rondo. I just think their ceilings are much higher than Caldwell Pope and then Danny Green. Caldwell Pope, I think his minutes are a little bit more secure than Danny Green, but still, he doesn't have much of a ceiling, man. A good game from KCP is 25 points, and if Dwight Howard plays 23 minutes, he can easily give us, 25, 30 DK points, whereas KCP has to almost, have a ceiling game to put up 25. So KCP probably going to be off him. Danny Green going to be off him as well. These guys I just think are a little bit too expensive for me. Just don't have the ceiling to where I would want to pay that price tag for them, especially when you look and we have Iguodala for 3,400. We have Caruso for 3K. Even Kuzma for 3,800. Kuzma wasn't playing great during the Denver series. Didn't show much upside. Still should get about 22 to 24 minutes, though, off the bench. So I guess he's viable at 3,800. I just don't think I'm going to play him that much. I'd rather, if I'm punting, if I'm needing value, I think Iggy and Caruso are going to be the two guys I look to for value. So I talked about it at the beginning of the video. Iggy saw 28 minutes in Game 6 against Boston, played really well, had 26 DraftKings points off the bench. His minutes are definitely up in the air, kind of similar to Rondo. You don't know what you're going to get from Iggy. He could play 20 minutes, he could play 25 minutes, he could play close to 30, he could play 15 minutes. It's a bit of a risky play, but at 3,400, I know Iggy's not the best point per minute player. He's not a guy that's going to go out there and drop 30 DraftKings points most times. I think the only reason he had such a good game against Boston in Game 6 was because he shot the ball really well, was 4 for 4 from 3, had 15 points. But this is a guy that, if he plays, let's just say he plays 25, 26 minutes, I mean, he can give us a good enough score to where he's viable at 3,400. There isn't many other options in this price range that are going to play the amount of minutes that Iggy will. Under Iggy, you have like Markieff Morris, Kelly Olynyk, JaVale McGee. Like, these guys just, in my opinion, aren't going to play enough to where I want to go to them. Kuzma, he's probably going to play similar minutes to Iguodala. I think, the minute ceiling, though, for Iggy is a bit higher than it is for Kuzma. If one guy's more likely to play 30 minutes, I think it's probably Iggy over Kuzma. So for that reason, I'd probably rather go with Iguodala at 3,400. He's going to be needed here to guard LeBron. Iggy, when he was with the Warriors, they would use him a lot to guard LeBron. He did a decent job at it. I'm not saying he's going to slow LeBron one-on-one or slow LeBron down one-on-one. Pretty much nobody is. But Iggy at least can give them, good defense off the bench. He's a guy that can kind of give you a little bit of everything, can give you points, can give you a few rebounds, a few assists. He can get those defensive stats. He's kind of like a poor man's Jay Crowder in the sense that, he can just give you a little bit of everything. He's not going to play big minutes. He doesn't have a massive ceiling, but at 3,400, it's not like we need him to drop, 40 DK points. Even if he gets us 25, that could be good enough at his salary. So I do like Iguodala as a punt option for 3,400. And then I also like Alex Caruso for 3K. During the Denver series, his minutes were pretty secure, was playing anywhere from, 25 to 30 minutes a night, 26, 25, 29 minutes. Did have one game where he had 20 minutes, but I believe that was due to foul trouble. Most nights I think we're going to get, anywhere from 25 to 28 minutes from Caruso. Again, he's not the most productive player on a point-per-minute basis. Playing alongside LeBron and AD, obviously that's not great for Caruso's production. But he's kind of similar to Iguodala in the sense that he can just give you a little bit of everything, can give you some points, can pick up a few rebounds, can get some assists. Another guy that can get defensive stats. We've seen him put up games where he gets, 2, 3 steals. At 3K, for a bench guy that's going to play close to 28 minutes, I think he's definitely my favorite punt option. I just feel best about him because I think his minutes are the most secure out of all the guys priced down here. Markieff Morris, since Dwight Howard moved into the starting lineup, that pretty much killed Markieff Morris's value. We saw him get solid minutes in the Houston series, but that was just due to them playing small ball. In the Denver series, once they moved JaVale back into the starting lineup, and then once they replaced Dwight with JaVale, that just killed Markieff Morris's value. I don't think we can go to him at 2,600. Kelly Olynyk at 2K, I think could be viable. Another guy you never know what you're going to get in terms of minutes. During the Boston series, he was playing anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes a night. Against a Lakers team that does play pretty big, maybe Kelly Olynyk picks up a few more minutes in this series. For me, though, if I had the salary, I just feel so much better with a guy like Caruso. I know Caruso on a point-per-minute basis is nowhere near as productive as Kelly Olynyk, but I feel like Caruso is probably going to play twice the amount of minutes that Kelly Olynyk will. So for that reason, I'd just rather go to him. I'd rather go to Iguodala. For me, there's really, once you get past Caruso, I don't think I want to play anyone else under him. I don't want to play Markieff Morris, JaVale McGee. I don't want to go to these guys, Derrick Jones Jr. These guys just aren't going to play enough minutes to where I would want to, consider them. I don't think any of these 1K guys get on the floor. Maybe Myers Leonard could pick up a few more minutes against a big Lakers team. He didn't play at all in the Boston series. He hasn't played since the Milwaukee series. He pretty much didn't play at all in the postseason. The only game where he did see minutes was against Milwaukee, and I believe that was actually, that was late in the game. That was a blowout run. So it's risky, man. Myers Leonard hasn't played at all pretty much in the postseason. Against a big Lakers front court, though, will they give him a few more minutes? Will they give him some minutes at all? My best guess is probably not. But I mean, if you want to take a shot on him at 1K, I guess it's not the worst play. But still, they do have Kelly Olynyk, so yeah, it's probably not worth going. It's not worth taking the shot on Myers Leonard. Would I be surprised if he comes off the bench and plays 10 minutes? No, but I just don't think it's worth it to try and, guess on that. If you're going to take a shot on one of the Miami bigs, not named Bam Adebayo, and just hope they pick up a few more minutes because of the big Lakers front court, it would probably be Kelly Olynyk that I would play there. I don't think I'd go down to the 1K guys. But again, I don't feel too confident in anyone past Caruso. Once you get under Caruso, no one under him, I feel confident even plays close to 20 minutes. So for that reason, Caruso is probably my favorite value, and then that's probably it once you get past him. So that's just kind of my thoughts on the player pool, guys. We'll talk about a few lineup builds real quick. We'll hit on roster construction. I definitely want to try and build out a lineup with LeBron at captain because I think, if I can pay up at captain, I think LeBron is my favorite option. Even though he is 19,800, we have the value to get him in. I talked about Caruso, who's probably going to play at least mid-20s in minutes and is only 3K. We can plug him into our LeBron captain lineup, and that frees us up some salary. We could also play Iguodala, who I do like as a value for 3,400. We go with him, and now we're up to 79.33 remaining per player. So got a lot of salary to work with. We talked about some of the guys, or there's some of the guys we talked about in this upper tier that we could maybe get in, like a Jimmy Butler, who I said, at the beginning of the video, I think is underpriced, and I do like him quite a bit at his salary. And now that leaves us 7,300 remaining per player for 2 spots. So with these last 2 spots, there's a lot of ways we could go. If we wanted to maybe pay up for Bam, we could do that, and that would leave us enough to play like Kyle Kuzma. So that's a route that you can maybe go. But like I said earlier, I don't love Kuzma. I'm not, a big fan of him. And I think Bam, may be a little bit too expensive. So for that reason, probably wouldn't go that route. If we were to go with Dragic, that would leave us enough to play Rondo. So maybe that's a build that we could go with. If we were to go with Tyler Hero, then that would leave us enough to play Jay Crowder. So that's another route we could look to go. If we were to go down to Dwight, that would leave us, pretty much the same thing. So I think that's probably the way that I would go. Either Dragic, Hero, one of those 2 guys, and then, between Rondo or Howard, I think if Dwight Howard starts again, I feel a little bit more confident in him. So I would probably take him over Rondo there. That is a lineup that I do like quite a bit. Feel pretty confident in that build. You still have $1,000 remaining per player, or $1,000 remaining in salary. So if you wanted to, you could upgrade somewhere. Like you could upgrade from maybe Caruso up to Kuzma, but I don't like that. I'd rather just play Caruso, even though he's cheaper. I still think he projects better than Kuzma does. But I guess if you wanted to upgrade from Iggy, you could take him out and replace him with Danny Green. But honestly, I think I feel more confident in Iggy, even coming off the bench, than I do in Danny Green. Like Danny Green, his minutes are probably a little bit more safer than Iguodala's. Most games Danny Green's going to see probably anywhere from like 28 to 30 minutes. Both guys aren't great on a point per minute basis. If people are going to build this lineup and they're just going to play Danny Green because they have the salary, like I would just rather play Iguodala and hope that he outscores Danny Green. So I don't think there's any changes I would make here besides maybe upgrading from, like Dwight Howard to Rondo, or that's pretty much it. Like you can't really upgrade anywhere else. So I do like that lineup quite a bit. You can see it's pretty easy to go with LeBron at captain. You just have to play a guy like Caruso, who I do like quite a bit, or a guy like Iguodala. If you play both, then that's going to allow you to really, get in an extra stud. But you don't have to go that route. You could just play maybe one of Caruso or Iguodala. I would probably prefer Caruso there. And then you could go with some of these 5K options, like maybe a Rondo and a Howard. Go with those 2 guys who we talked about. I do have interest in. Now we have enough to where we could play like Dragic and Hero. So that's a build that you could also do. Pretty much kind of the same thing. The only difference is you're playing Hero and Rondo instead of Jimmy and Iguodala. So I guess that's a 2v2. You could decide which side do you prefer. Honestly, looking at it now, I think the Hero Rondo side might actually be better. So either way, you could play Hero Rondo or you could play Jimmy and Iggy. But yeah, that's a few builds that I do like with LeBron at captain. We could pay down a little bit, though, at captain and maybe go for someone like Butler, Dragic, or Hero. I think all 3 of those guys are captain worthy. Like I said earlier, I think Butler is a little bit too cheap for his upside. So at 13.8, if we were to play him at captain, that is going to free us up some salary. We can definitely pay up for another stud, whether that's LeBron or AD. And like I said earlier, I think LeBron, is my favorite Laker stud option to pay up for. Going with those 2 leaves us 570 or just over 5K per player for our last 4 spots. We don't have to punt with a guy like Caruso, but if we do, that is going to free us up even more salary to get in maybe an extra stud. So let's plug Caruso in there. Gives us just over 6K remaining per player. So then we could go like Rondo. We could go Howard and Rondo, and that would leave us enough to play Dragic, or we could go one of those 2 guys. We'll go with Howard just because he's a little bit cheaper. That leaves us 7,500. So then we could play Tyler Hero, and then maybe Jay Crowder. Honestly, I'd rather play Crowder over Robinson, even though Robinson's more expensive. I just think Crowder's the better play there. So that's another build you could do, with Jimmy Butler at captain. Another lineup that I do, like a good amount. And you still have salary to upgrade, so you could play. If you want to upgrade from Hero to Dragic, you could. If you want to upgrade from Howard to Rondo, you could. But in terms of cheap captains, if you're not paying up for LeBron at captain, if you're not going to like Dragic or Hero or Butler in the mid-range, I don't know if there's any guys below them that I think are captain worthy. You're going to need at least like 30 to 35 points from these guys for them to be like to have a chance at being in the captain or being in the winning lineup at captain. Sure, there's some upside from guys down here that have that, kind of upside, like a Dwight Howard. Like Dwight Howard could go for 30, 35. Rajon Rondo could go for 30 to 35. None of these guys, though, below them really had the upside. So if I was going to play a cheap captain, once you get past Tyler Hero, if there was anyone that I was going to play under him at captain, it would probably be either Rondo or Howard. If I had to choose one, I probably would go with Dwight Howard just because I think, his minutes are a little bit more secure, assuming he does stay in the starting lineup. So if you play him at captain, you got a lot of salary to work with. Can pay up for probably multiple studs. Jimmy and LeBron, who I talked about, I really like. Could probably, if we jam in Caruso as a value, we could probably get in another stud. We could go Dragic. Yeah, Dragic and Hero. So that's a build that I do like quite a bit. You got Dragic, Hero, Butler. You got LeBron. You got Howard and Caruso as your values. In order for this lineup to be a winning GPP lineup, you're going to need Howard to obviously put up a decent score. Like, he's going to have to put up at least 30. But if he does start again, which I assume he will, should get the minutes, probably 24 to 25 minutes. And Howard has 30, 35 point upside when he's getting, upwards of mid-20s in minutes. So I don't mind playing him as a cheap captain. I don't think that's something that I would do in like one lineup. I think if I'm playing one lineup, I'm probably going to try and pay up for LeBron or pay up for Jimmy at captain. But if you're playing multiple lineups, I would definitely get some Dwight Howard at captain because I think there is at least enough upside for him to be possibly in the winning captain lineup or in the winning lineup at captain, now that he's getting more minutes with him in the starting lineup. So yeah, that's just a few lineup builds that I do like, guys. My final thoughts on it are, in terms of roster construction, my favorite captain plays I think are probably LeBron, Jimmy Butler, one of Dragic or Hero, whichever one you prefer. I think Hero probably would be the guy I'd go there. So LeBron, Butler, Hero, and then if you're going cheap, if you want a punt captain, I think Howard makes some sense. So those are probably like my four favorite captain plays. My favorite values, I like Iggy for cheap. I like Caruso for cheap. Definitely Caruso overall is my favorite value at 3K. But yeah, guys, I think we broke it all down. Talked about all the playable options, hit on roster construction, talked about a few lineup builds, who I like at captain for the slate. I think we covered it all, guys. So I hope you did enjoy this video. I hope you got something out of it. Hopefully it was helpful for you. If you did enjoy, be sure to hit that like button before you do get out of here, and hit the subscribe button as well. I will be making videos during the playoffs, for these showdown slates. I'll be making a video for every game, so you're definitely going to want to be subscribed. Be sure to click that notification bell as well, so that way you never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you want to get more content from me, like I said at the beginning of the video, I do have more stuff available on Patreon that you can check out, link down below in the description. If you want to see more that I have to offer, I do have stuff linked down below over there. But best of luck on this slate, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you in the next one. Good luck, guys. Peace.